Dr. Haywan walked through the wide corridors of Kepler 7 station with her travel bag in one hand and a data pad in the other. The station was huge and busy. People from many different species moved around her. Some had wings, some had extra arms, some looked like nothing she had ever seen before. The air smelled like metal and something sweet that she could not name. This was her first day as a xenobiologist on the station. She was excited and nervous at the same time. Her job was to study how different alien species talk to each other and work together. It was important work. The galaxy was full of so many different kinds of life, and humans were still learning how to live with all of them. Haywan found her office on the third research level. It was small but clean. The window looked out at the stars. She put her bag down and sat in her chair. She had been sitting for only a few minutes when her computer made a sound. A message appeared on the screen. It said that there was a problem in the restricted zone. She needed to come right away. She did not know what the problem was. She put on her security badge and walked quickly to the restricted zone. The doors were red and had warning signs on them. Only special people could go in this area. When she got closer, she could hear strange sounds. They were like growls and chirps mixed together. A tall man with green skin was standing outside the door. His name was Tovan. He looked very upset. "Dr. Haywan," he said. "Thank goodness you are here. I did not think anyone would come so fast." "What happened?" Haywan asked. "The cubs got out," Tovan said. "I do not know how. I locked the door, but they are smart. Too smart. They found a way. Now they are in the research corridor. I am very worried they will hurt someone." Haywan's heart became faster. Cubs meant baby animals. Tovan was a Thessian. She knew about Thessians from her training. They were a predator species. Their cubs were very dangerous, but she had to try to help. "Show me," she said. Tovan led her down the corridor. As they walked, Haywan began to hear the sounds again. They were louder now. She felt afraid, but she kept walking. She was a scientist. She had to understand what was happening. They turned a corner, and Haywan saw them. There were 3 cubs. They were huge. Each one was as tall as a grown human. They had long claws and sharp teeth. Their skin was dark red and covered with marks. But they were not fighting or attacking people. Instead, they were doing something very strange. They were playing. One of the cubs was sliding down the hallway. Its claws made sounds on the smooth floor. It looked like it was having fun. The other 2 cubs were watching and making happy sounds. They were jumping up and down with excitement. But Haywan noticed something else. The cubs seemed interested in something specific. They kept looking at one thing over and over again. The thing they were looking at was a pair of feet, and those feet were wearing soft, gray socks. The socks belonged to a human worker named Minji. She was standing very still against the wall. She looked scared, but the cubs were not trying to hurt her. They were just staring at her socks. "The socks?" Haywan said, confused. "They want her socks?" "I think so," Tovan said. "When they got out, they went straight to that person. They smelled her. Then they started making those happy sounds. They will not leave her alone." Haywan thought for a moment. This was very unusual. She had read everything about Thessian cubs in her training. Nothing said they would be interested in human clothing, but here it was happening in front of her eyes. She walked slowly toward the cubs. Tovan tried to stop her. "No, doctor, it is not safe," he said. But Haywan kept walking. She wanted to see this for herself. The largest cub saw her coming. It turned its head to look at her. Haywan stopped. The cub took a step toward her. This was the dangerous moment. This was when the cub could attack. But instead of attacking, the cub did something different. It lowered its big head and sniffed at her feet. Haywan was wearing the same kind of socks as Minji, soft gray socks that were made to keep feet warm and comfortable. The cub made a sound. It was not a growl. It was more like a purr, a deep, rumbling sound that meant the cub was happy. The other two cubs heard the sound and came over to HFY as well. All three of them began to examine her socks carefully. "They like the socks," HFY said softly. "Very much," Tovan said. He was surprised by what he was seeing. HFY did something brave. She sat down on the floor right there in the hallway. She did not move. She let the cubs smell her socks. She let them touch them with their claws. They were very gentle. They did not tear the socks or hurt her. The cubs made more purring sounds. It was a strange and beautiful sound. HFY had never heard Thessian cubs make this sound before. Maybe they never made it at all. Maybe this was something new. A few minutes later, security people arrived. They had big guns and serious faces. They pointed their weapons at the cubs. The cubs moved back, but they did not become mean. They just seemed sad that they could not touch the socks anymore. "Do not shoot them," HFY said. She stood up slowly. "They are not dangerous. They are just curious. Let me handle this." The security leader looked confused, but he listened to HFY. She was a scientist. She was an expert. He told his people to put the guns down. HFY turned to Tovan. "How long can I keep working with these cubs?" she asked. "I want to study them. I want to understand why they are acting this way." Tovan looked surprised. "You want to study them? That is good. It is safe. That means I do not have to keep them locked up all day. That means I can help them. Yes, you can work with them, as long as you want." HFY looked at the three cubs. They were looking back at her. In their big eyes, she could see something she did not expect. She could see intelligence. She could see curiosity. She could see something like friendship. "I will call the first one Rin," she said. "And that one is Ket. And she is Mira." The cubs heard her voice and made happy sounds again. This was the beginning of something strange and wonderful. Something that would change everything for everyone on Kepler-7 station. Something that started with 3 baby predators and a pair of soft socks. HFY smiled. She did not know it yet, but her life was about to become very interesting indeed. The sun did not shine on Kepler-7 station. There was no sun here, but the lights turned on and off to match a normal day cycle. When the lights came on, HFY was already awake. She had not slept much. She was thinking about the cubs all night. She got out of her bed and put on fresh socks. These socks were her favorite. They were soft and warm. They were made from a material that felt good on the skin. She knew now that the cubs would like them too. HFY met Tovan at the restricted zone. He was sitting outside the cubs' room looking tired. "Did you sleep?" HFY asked. "A little," Tovan said. "The cubs were making sounds all night. Happy sounds. They were waiting for you." "They were waiting for me," HFY said. "Yes," Tovan said. "I think they like you. That is unusual." "Thessian cubs do not usually like people." HFY opened the door and walked inside. The room was big and made for the cubs. It had places for them to sleep and eat and play. But when the cubs saw HFY, they forgot about everything else. Rin was the first to reach her. He was big and strong. He lowered his head to her feet and made a happy purring sound. Ket and Mira followed. Soon, all 3 cubs were around her, gentle and excited. "Today we are going to do something fun," HFY told them. She did not know if they understood her words, but they seemed to understand her feelings. She led them to an empty area of the station. This area had long hallways with smooth floors. The floors were perfect for sliding. She showed the cubs her socks and pointed at the floor. "Slide," she said simply. At first, the cubs did not understand. But then Rin had an idea. He lay down on the floor and pushed himself forward with his claws. His body slid across the smooth surface. When he stopped, he stood up and made the happiest sound yet. Ket and Mira watched. Then they tried it too. Soon, all 3 cubs were sliding down the hallway. They went fast and slow. They slid into walls and bounced back. They made sounds that sounded like laughing. HFY watched from the side. She was smiling. This was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. Other people on the station began to notice the sliding cubs. They came to watch. Some were scared at first. A predator species was sliding down their hallway wearing socks. But the cubs were having so much fun that people began to smile too. A worker named June saw the cubs sliding. He shook his head and laughed. "That is the strangest thing I have ever seen," he said to his friend. "I know," his friend answered. "But look at them. They are so happy." Over the next week, this became normal for the station. Every day, HFY would bring the cubs to the hallway. Every day, they would slide and play and have fun. More and more people came to watch. But something else was happening too. The cubs were changing. They were learning things. They were learning how to be gentle. They were learning how to play without fighting. They were learning how to trust. One day, Ket hurt himself sliding. He cut his paw on a sharp piece of metal. He was in pain. Normally, a Thessian cub would growl and fight when hurt, but Ket did something different. He came to HFY and showed her his hurt paw. He made a small, sad sound. HFY cleaned the cut and put medicine on it. She tied a soft cloth around his paw like a bandage. Ket stood very still while she did this. When she finished, he made a happy purring sound. He did not bite her. He did not attack her. He trusted her. Tovan was watching all of this from the corner. He was thinking about something that was very important. "Dr. HFY," he said one day, "I need to tell you something about Thessian cubs. In our world, we keep cubs locked up. We keep them alone. We make them mean and strong through fighting and pain. We do this because we believe that is how they become good warriors. But watching your cubs, watching how they are, I wonder if we are wrong." HFY looked at Tovan. She was interested in what he had to say. "Tell me more," she said. "In our culture, we believe that gentleness makes weakness. We believe that kindness makes warriors soft. But look at these cubs. They are strong. They are smart. They are brave. But they are also kind. They are also gentle. And I do not think they are weak because of it. I think maybe they are stronger." HFY put her hand on Tovan's shoulder. "I think you are right," she said. HFY began to write down everything she saw. She made notes about how the cubs behaved. She recorded videos of them playing and sliding. She measured how fast they learned new things. She tested their memory. The numbers were surprising. The cubs exposed to HFY's care and play were learning much faster than normal Thessian cubs. They were solving problems that older cubs could not solve. They were remembering things that they heard only one time. HFY made a list of all the changes. She would need this information for her reports. She would need this to show people that something amazing was happening here. Rin, Ket, and Mira were not just any cubs. They were becoming something new. They were showing the universe that even predators could learn kindness. Even creatures made for fighting could learn love. One night, HFY fell asleep in the cub's room. She was sitting on the floor with her back against the wall. Her feet were bare. All 3 cubs came and slept around her feet. They were warm and safe and happy. Tovan found her there in the morning. He saw the cubs and HFY sleeping together. He saw how peaceful they all looked. He knew that something important had happened here, something that would change his people forever. But he did not know that someone was watching. Someone was paying attention to everything that HFY was doing with the cubs. Someone had plans for this situation. Someone who would not be happy about what HFY was teaching these baby predators. The sliding and the playing would continue for only a little bit longer. Soon, hard questions would come. Soon, powerful people would start to worry. Soon, HFY would have to fight for the cubs and fight for what she believed was right. But for now, there was only the sound of happy cubs sleeping and a kind human who had discovered something that the universe had forgotten. Gentleness was not weakness. It was power. It was the most powerful force of all. The message came early in the morning. It said that Haiwan was wanted in Commander Daejung's office immediately. She did not know why. She had done nothing wrong. But she felt nervous as she walked through the station corridors. Commander Daejung's office was at the top of the station. It was a place where important decisions were made. When Haiwan walked in, she saw 3 Thessian people sitting in big chairs. They wore special clothes that showed they were important. They were members of the Thessian High Council. "Dr. Haiwan," Commander Daejung said. His voice was not friendly. "Please sit down. We need to talk about what you are doing with the cubs." Haiwan sat down. She felt all eyes on her. "What we are doing," she said. "We are studying them. We are helping them learn and grow." An old Thessian man spoke first. His name was Ranki. He was the leader of the High Council. His voice was deep and angry. "You are poisoning them," he said. "You are teaching them softness. You are teaching them to be weak. In Thessian culture, cubs must be made strong through hardship. They must learn to fight. They must learn to be warriors. What you are doing is wrong. It is harmful. It must stop." Another Thessian spoke. Her name was Sua. She was younger than Ranki, but still very serious. "The cubs you have are supposed to be part of a warrior breeding program," she said. "They are important to our people. You cannot just teach them to play and slide down hallways. This is not acceptable." Haiwan stood up. She was not going to be quiet about this. "With respect, I have data that shows something different," she said. "The cubs under my care are learning faster than any Thessian cubs on record. They are solving complex problems. They are showing intelligence and creativity. They are strong and healthy and happy." "Happy?" Ranki said the word like it was poison. "Happiness is not what warriors need." But then Commander Daejung raised his hand. He had something to say. "The High Council has made a decision," he said. "The cubs will be returned to Thessian space in 3 days. They will be taken from the station and put back into the traditional breeding program. Dr. Haiwan, your experiment is over." Haiwan felt her heart break. 3 days. That was all the time she had left with Rin, Ket, and Mira. "This is not fair," she said. "Give me more time. Let me show you what is possible." "No," Ranki said. "No more time. 3 days." Haiwan left the office. She felt angry and sad at the same time. She went straight to the cubs area. She told Tovan what had happened. Tovan was shocked. His face became dark with sadness. "I was afraid of this," he said. "The High Council does not like change. They are afraid of change. They think that if the cubs become anything different, our whole culture will fall apart." As Haiwan and Tovan were talking, a young Thessian person came to find them. Her name was Bomb. She was a diplomat from the Thessian homeworld. She had been watching what Haiwan was doing with great interest. "Dr. Haiwan," Bomb said, "I need to talk to you about the High Council's decision." "What?" Haiwan said. "I do not agree with them," Bomb said. "I have studied human culture. I know that what you are doing is good and important. I want to help you." Haiwan was surprised. She had not expected help from a Thessian. "How can you help?" she asked. "I know how to speak to the council in their language," Bomb said. "Not their words, but their values. Let me try. Give me the data you have collected. I will present it to them in a way they understand." Haiwan gave Bomb all of her research. Everything she had recorded and written and measured. Bomb studied it all through the night. The next day, Bomb called for a formal meeting with the High Council. Haiwan and Tovan were there too. Bomb stood up and spoke to the council. "The data shows that these cubs are stronger, not weaker," Bomb said. "A true warrior does not only fight. A true warrior is smart. A true warrior can understand his enemies. A true warrior can make choices. These cubs have all of these qualities. They are better warriors because of what Dr. Haywan has taught them. They are the future of our people. Ranki was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "You are wrong. Our people have been strong for thousands of years because of our ways. We will not change now." But Baum did not give up. "Do you know what our greatest weakness is?" Baum asked. "We do not understand anyone except ourselves. Every other species in the galaxy fears us because they think we cannot think about anything except fighting. What if we could prove them wrong? What if we could show that Thessians are more than just warriors?" This made Su'a think. She was the youngest council member. She looked at the data more carefully. "If what you say is true," she said slowly, "then perhaps we have been wrong for a long time." But Ranki was still not convinced. He made a new decision. Instead of 3 days, they would give Haywan 7 days. In 7 days, there would be a final test. The cubs would be examined by Thessian experts. If they were found to be weak, they would be taken away. If they were found to be strong, they could stay. It was not perfect, but it was hope. Haywan, Tovan, and Baum left the office together. They had 7 days to prepare. "What will the test be?" Haywan asked. "I do not know," Baum said, "but I know the experts. They are hard people. They will judge the cubs fairly, I think. But we must show them the very best version of the cubs. We must show them what is possible." Over the next 7 days, Haywan worked harder than she had ever worked before. She made videos of the cubs solving problems. She showed how they helped each other. She showed how they were kind. She showed how they were strong. Tovan began to tell Rin, Ket, and Mira stories about Thessian warriors, but not stories about fighting, stories about smart warriors, stories about warriors who won through intelligence and understanding. And Baum spoke to every council member she could find. She told them about the possibility of change. She told them about what the cubs represented. She told them that the future did not have to be like the past. At the end of 7 days, the experts came. They were tough and serious. They looked at the cubs and did many tests. But something happened that nobody expected. When the experts were testing the cubs, Mira did something amazing. She solved a problem that was supposed to be impossible for a young cub. She used tools. She thought about the answer carefully, and she succeeded. The lead expert, a large Thessian named Komin, looked very surprised. "How did she learn to do this?" he asked. "Through kindness," Haywan said simply. "Through play. Through being taught instead of beaten." Komin was quiet for a very long time. Then he said something that would change everything. "I have been wrong," he said. "I have always believed that pain made strong warriors, but maybe I was wrong." The other experts talked among themselves. They agreed with Komin. The cubs were strong. They were healthy. They were intelligent. They were everything a Thessian cub should be. And they had been taught through kindness instead of cruelty. The High Council made a new decision. The cubs could stay. And more than that, they gave permission for Haywan's program to continue. Other Thessian cubs could be brought to the station to learn the same way. When Haywan told the cubs that they could stay, they made the happiest sounds she had ever heard. She put on her soft socks and let them slide down the hallway one more time. But she knew something important now. This was not really about socks or sliding or even about 3 baby predators. It was about change. It was about the power to change minds. It was about the power to change worlds. And it was only the beginning. 2 weeks after the decision to let the cubs stay, Haywan was working late in her office. She was writing reports and organizing her data. Her computer made a soft sound. A message had arrived. It was from Commander Dae-jung. He wanted to see her right away, again. Haywan felt confused. Everything was good now. The cubs were safe. The program was approved. Why did the commander want to meet with her again? When she got to his office, she found him looking at something on his computer. His face looked worried. He did not look happy at all. "Dr. HFY," he said, "please close the door." She did. The door made a soft sound as it shut. "I need to tell you something," the commander said. "But first, you must promise not to tell anyone. This is very secret information." HFY nodded slowly. "I have been using your work with the Cubs," he said. "I have been sending reports to the Thessian government, not reports about science or about the Cubs, reports about trade opportunities. The Thessian government has many resources. They have metals that we need. They have energy sources. I wanted to make a deal with them." HFY did not like where this was going. "I told the Thessian government that humans could help improve their civilization," the commander continued. "I said that if they gave us access to their resources, we would help them. And the proof was you, your work with the Cubs. I used you to negotiate a contract that will make this station very rich and very powerful." "You used me?" HFY said. Her voice was angry. "Yes," the commander said. "But now there is a problem. The contract says that the Cubs must show continuous improvement and success. If they fail at anything, or if something goes wrong, the Thessian government will think that humans cannot be trusted, and then the contract will be broken, and I will lose everything." HFY understood now. The commander did not care about the Cubs. He did not care about science. He only cared about money and power. "What do you want from me?" she asked. "I want you to understand the pressure you are under," the commander said. "Every test the Cubs take, every behavior they show, affects the future of this station. Do not make any mistakes. The whole station depends on your success." HFY left his office angry. She walked through the corridors without really seeing where she was going. She felt betrayed. Everything she had done, everything she had fought for, was being used for something bad. She went to find Bomb. Bomb would understand. Bomb had helped fight for the Cubs. Bomb had fought against her own people to help HFY. She found Bomb in a quiet area of the station. Bomb was looking at the stars through a big window. "Bomb," HFY said, "I need to tell you something." HFY told Bomb everything that the commander had said. She told Bomb about the contract and the negotiation and the pressure. Bomb's face became sad. "I knew something like this might happen," Bomb said. "The commander is a trader. That is what traders do. They trade in everything, even in change, even in hope." "What should I do?" HFY asked. "You should do what you know is right," Bomb said. "Do not let the commander's greed change who you are. Do not let him change what you believe in. The Cubs are more important than his contracts. The truth is more important than his money." But then Bomb said something else. "However," she said, "we need to be smart about this. If we let the commander know that we know, he might try to stop you. He might take the Cubs away. We need to gather evidence first. We need to document everything. We need to make it so clear that the truth cannot be hidden." HFY started to think like a scientist again. That was good. That gave her strength. Over the next week, HFY made copies of all her research. She stored it in secret places. She made videos of the Cubs solving problems and helping each other. She recorded Tovan talking about how the Cubs had changed his beliefs about his own culture. She also began to notice something else. The Cubs were growing. They were not little babies anymore. They were becoming young predators. And they were becoming smart in ways that nobody had expected. One day, something happened that changed everything. There was a lock on the Cubs area. It was a strong lock. It was supposed to keep them safe and keep other people safe from them. But the lock was old. It had a small problem with it. Rin looked at the lock for a long time. He looked at how it worked. He thought about the problem. Then he used his claws in a very careful way. He did not break the lock. He fixed it. He fixed the thing that was wrong with it. HFY watched this happen. She could not believe it. The cub had not just escaped. He had solved the problem. He had made the lock work better. "Rin," she said, "you are even smarter than I thought." When Tovan saw what Rin had done, his face changed. He became very serious. "This is the sign," Tovan said. "This is what the old Thessian stories talk about. When a cub shows this kind of intelligence and ability to see problems and fix them, that cub is destined for great things. That cub will become a leader. That cub will change his people." HFY felt chills run down her spine. Maybe the cubs were not just learning. Maybe they were becoming something that would change the whole galaxy. That night, HFY made a decision. She would document everything about Rin fixing the lock. She would show what he had done. And when the time was right, she would show the truth to everyone. She would show what the cubs were really becoming. She would show that the commander had been lying. She would show that the truth was more beautiful and more powerful than any contract. She sat with the cubs that night. She put on her soft socks. Rin, Ket, and Mira came and sat with her. They were not little babies anymore. They were strong and smart and kind. They were the future. "I am going to tell the truth," she whispered to them, "and I am going to help you become what you are meant to be. No matter what the commander wants. No matter what anyone wants, the truth will come out. I promise." The cubs made their happy purring sound. They understood something. Maybe they understood her words. Maybe they understood her heart. But they understood that she would not give up on them. The next day, HFY began to plan. She and Bom and Tovan would work together. They would gather the evidence. They would tell the story to everyone. They would show the galaxy what was possible when humans and predators worked together. When kindness defeated cruelty. When truth defeated greed. The slide down the hallway had been just the beginning. Now came the bigger challenges. Now came the fight to change minds and hearts. Now came the moment when one human and 2 Thessians and 3 cubs would fight to change the future of their people. And they would win. But the fight was not easy. The fight was just beginning. HFY sat in a small room with Bom and Tovan. The room had 1 door and no windows. It was safe to talk here. Nobody would hear them. On the table in front of them were papers and video recordings and data reports. All of it showed the same thing. The cubs were growing stronger and smarter every day. They were becoming something that Thessian society had never seen before. "We need to present this to the High Council," Bom said. "We need to show them all of this data. We need to let them hear directly from Tovan and from the cubs' handler. We need to make the truth impossible to ignore." "But what about the commander?" Tovan asked. "He will try to stop us." "I know," Bom said, "but we have something more powerful than the commander. We have the truth. And the truth is on our side." They made a plan. Bom would call for a formal meeting with the Thessian High Council. She would do it using her power as a diplomat. When they arrived, they would show the data. They would tell the story of what the cubs had become. 3 days later, the High Council sat in a formal meeting room. Ron-Ki was there. So was Sua. And Komin, the expert who had tested the cubs. Bom stood up and began to speak. "I have new information about the cubs," she said. "I have new data that shows what Dr. HFY has done is not just good, it is revolutionary." She showed videos of the cubs solving problems. She showed measurements of how smart they were getting. She showed how fast they were learning compared to traditional Thessian cubs. "But there is something even more important," Bom said. "There is a story that we need to hear." She looked at Tovan. Tovan stood up. His legs were shaking a little bit, but he started to speak. "My name is Tovan," he said. "I am a Thessian. I was raised the way our people raise all cubs. I was kept alone. I was taught through pain and fear. I was taught to be a warrior. I was taught that softness was weakness." He paused. His voice became quieter. "But now I am grown," he continued, "and I have spent my whole life believing what I was taught. I have believed that kindness is weakness. I have believed that pain makes strength. But I was wrong. And I know I was wrong because watching these 3 cubs has shown me something different. Tovan looked at Ran Ki directly. The cubs that Dr. Haywan has worked with are stronger than I am, Tovan said. They are smarter than I am. They are braver than I am. And they learned this through kindness instead of cruelty. If I had known what they have become, maybe my life would have been different. Maybe I would not have spent so many years believing that I had to be hard and mean to be strong. The room was very quiet. Then Sua spoke. What you are saying, she said slowly, is that we have been wrong. That all this time, we have been making our cubs weak instead of strong. Yes, Tovan said. That is exactly what I am saying. Komin, the expert, stood up. He looked very serious. I need to tell you something, he said to the council. When I tested the cubs, I was looking for weakness. I was waiting to find something to criticize, but I could not find it. These cubs were perfect. They were strong and intelligent and good. He paused. And then I went home, he continued. I have cubs of my own. I have been raising them the way I was raised, the way we all raise cubs. And do you know what I realized? I realized that they were not as smart as the humans' cubs. They were not as happy. They were not as good at solving problems. And I asked myself, why? Why are the humans' cubs better? And the answer is, because they were taught with kindness. Ranki looked very old and very tired. If this is true, he said slowly, then everything we believe is wrong. Not everything, Baum said gently. Just one thing. We believed that strength came through pain, but it comes through love. A strong warrior is not just strong in body. A strong warrior is strong in mind and heart also. She showed more data. She showed that the cubs had better memory than traditional cubs. They had better problem-solving skills. They had better ability to understand other creatures and other ways of thinking. This is the future, Baum said, not just for 3 cubs, but for all Thessian cubs. Imagine if all of our young people grew up this way. Imagine if we had a whole generation of Thessians who were strong in body and strong in mind and strong in heart. We would be unstoppable. We would be the greatest civilization in the galaxy, not because of cruelty, but because of wisdom. Sua looked at the data again. She studied the numbers very carefully. I propose something, she said. I propose that we create an official program. We bring more cubs to this station. We let Dr. Haywan teach them. We let them learn this new way, and we compare them to cubs raised the traditional way. We see which method makes better Thessians. Ranki was quiet for a long time. Then he said something that nobody expected. I think, he said slowly, that I have been a fool. Everyone looked at him. I have led our people for 50 years, he said. I have always believed that strength came through pain, because that is what I was taught. But I was taught wrong. And now I have been keeping our whole people wrong. I think it is time for someone younger to lead us. Someone who can see that change is not weakness. Someone who can see that kindness is a form of strength. He looked at Sua. I am stepping down, Ranki said. Sua, you will be the new leader of the council. Sua was shocked, but she nodded. Thank you, she said. And I promise that the first thing I will do is create this new program. I promise that I will help Dr. Haywan teach our cubs a better way. The meeting ended. The decision had been made. Everything would change. But Baum, Haywan, and Tovan did not celebrate yet. They had one more important thing to do. They went to the commander's office. The commander was working at his desk. He looked up when they came in. What do you want? He asked. His voice was not friendly. We want to show you something, Baum said. She showed him the videos of the council meeting. She showed him Ranki stepping down. She showed him everything that had happened. The commander's face became very white. "You did this?" he said to Haywan. "You went behind my back?" "Yes," Haywan said, "because the truth was more important than your contract." "But the contract," the commander said. "The Thessian government will cancel the contract. This will ruin everything." "No," Baum said. "The Thessian government will not cancel the contract. They will expand it. Because now they know that what you were selling them, what you were promising them, is real. The cubs are real proof that humans can help their culture become better. The contract will become much bigger." The commander sat down. He looked defeated. "You tricked me," he said. "No," Haywan said. "We told the truth. The truth just happened to be better than your tricks." Over the next few months, more Thessian cubs came to the station. More human scientists came too. They began to create a whole program for teaching young predators how to be strong in every way. The cubs learned to slide in socks down hallways, but they also learned science and mathematics and art and music. They learned how to think. They learned how to feel. They learned how to be fully alive. And Rin, Ket, and Mira became teachers. They showed the new cubs how to be brave and smart and kind at the same time. They showed that a predator could be gentle. They showed that strength and softness could exist together. Haywan would sit in the common areas and watch the young Thessians playing and learning. She would wear her soft socks. And the cubs would slide past her, their claws making soft sounds on the floor. One day, she was sitting with Baum, and Baum said something important. "You changed everything," Baum said. "1 human and 3 cubs. You changed the way my whole people think about strength and about life." "No," Haywan said. "I just showed kindness. The rest was already inside the cubs. I just helped them find it." And that was true. The power had been there all along. Not in the command, not in the contract, not in the force or the fear. The power had been in the softness, in the kindness, in the belief that every creature, no matter how fierce, had goodness inside, and that goodness, when given the chance to grow, could change worlds.